We are going to practice painting a landscape today. This is a skill builder, and so I will teach you my tips and tricks. And so when you are painting your landscape for the final project, you feel comfortable and confident. So what you're going to need: your sketchbook, your watercolor pans, clean water. I would have your whole bundle of brushes because we're going to move in between them and use most of them. You'll also want paper towels, Kleenex, napkin, something to dry your brush and to blot on the paper. You're also going to need a pencil to be taking notes. So here is the background that we are going to paint. I was able to print it off. You can see the lines that I drew that help divide the foreground, middle ground, background. Those layers are important. So using this reference image, I'm going to sketch this onto my paper. And my sketch is not going to be detailed. It is just going to be these lines that divide these sections. So moving to my sketchbook, I'm going to divide my sketchbook in half. My painting will go up here, my notes will go down here. And then when I look at the picture, I notice it starts in this corner, moves up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw what I see. My tree line comes next, and I'm just putting in these rough lines because they resemble trees. I'm not drawing each individual tree. When we paint, we will get that look. And then last is my mountain. It's roughly in the middle of my paper. Kind of comes down, levels out. And then in my mountain, there's also a line like right here, kind of separates my mountain. And that's it. That's all I need to draw. And so, when you are painting a landscape, you start from the background and you work your way forward. So background, middle ground, foreground. Lightest colors to darkest colors. Less detail to more detail. So we're going to be painting each layer. And you always want to use your picture because this is my reference. This is how I know what colors I want to use. And I see the background is just blue. There's no clouds. And so I want to use my red, large, flat brush. And I want it to be really light blue. So I'm actually going to do the wet on wet technique. So I am going to carefully, I'm going to paint around the mountain the best I can. I'm just painting and getting my paper wet. So when I add that blue, I can make it really light. My paper is damp. I'm going to get that blue just a little. I might have grabbed too much. And once I have that, I'm going to start to put it on. And I want to keep it as even as possible. I want a nice wash in the background. And so if it feels like there's too much blue in an area, just go over it with your brush when it's wet. Like right here, there's a lot of blue. Just gonna go over that. Doing my best to go around the mountain. Now when you're painting your actual landscape, your sky might be a sunset, it might be nighttime, but in this case, it was blue. we are going to let that dry the best that we can. We're not going to add any more layers to that because I like the lightness of it. Our next step would be painting the mountain. And you would want to wait for the blue to be dry before painting the mountain, because of this, you know, it's going to be wet, and some of this black that we're going to use might bleed into your sky. So on your final project, wait for it to dry. For today's purpose, it's okay. We'll keep moving forward. I look at my mountain and I notice there's some white snow on here. White is not a color in your watercolor pan. White, you have to either leave the paper white or we can blot away, and we're going to try both techniques. So on this side of the mountain, I'm just going to kind of lightly sketch in where it looks like some of that white might be. And I'm going to do my best to paint around it. We'll start with that side. I'm going to switch to my medium green round brush. And we're going to be using black. I'm going to kind of make a lighter black, a gray. And so I'm going to put some water. I've already mixed, but you want to drop some water into your palette. If you remember, the more water you have, the lighter the value. And once I had enough water, I might pick up a little black. And I think this is going to be good. We'll see. So I want my brush to be really wet, and I don't have a lot of pigment. I'm going to do my best to stay in the lines of this mountain, and I'm going to paint around where that snow would be. That's why it's best to use a green round brush, because it can get those really detailed areas. And the color is perfect for me. It's just a lighter color. I don't want it too dark yet. Again, I'm trying to work around those snowy areas, and I'm working around that tree line that we also drew. Just have a little bit here. Just drying my brush and trying to like pick up some of this water here. All right. That looks great. It looks like snow. The next part of this mountain, the other half of it, the other side, I want this to be a little bit darker. I want to have dimension. And so I'm just going to dip right into this black, and we will use a different technique for blotting out some of the snow. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paint this on here. Again, doing my best to stay within the lines I've created for myself, using a darker value. And then when it's still wet, this is when you get your paper towel, get Kleenex, whatever, bunch it up, and I'm going to dab away where some of that white is. So I know there's some up top here, so I'm going to kind of dab where it is. I think there's some kind of in here. So I just kind of am dabbing and I'm picking up that pigment. And that also leaves that snow effect. It just was a different technique and it has a little more texture to it. Okay, we have to let our mountain dry. So while I'm letting this mountain dry, we're going to move up to our foreground. And I'm going to switch over to my large flat brush again. And in this foreground, we're going to paint yellow. But first, I'm going to do that wet on wet technique. And I'm going to paint in that foreground with water. And this will just help me create a lighter value because we're going to add a lot of layers on the foreground. And then I'm going to dip into the yellow. And it's there. You can hardly see it. There we go. I'm going to try to keep it even. And I am going to do a light wash of yellow. You can always pick up more pigment if you need to. Yellow is super light, so adding other colors on top of it is going to be easy.